We're here today and you've been here on other sessions, or if you're just joining us, whatever you do, don't miss tomorrow's session, the 5th session. That is our breakthrough strategy session. You want to be here with us. So whatever you do, make sure you're here tomorrow, Saturday, for the 5th session of the Full Body Fix. And with that being shared, let's go to Q&A and just a quick helpful tips and how-to for participating in Q&A. You go to the bottom of your Zoom toolbar, and as you go across, you see your microphone, which is where you mute, and then your camcorder image, and you keep going across, and you'll find a button that says Reactions. When you click on the button that says Reactions, a box will open. Bottom of the box, it says Raise Hand. If you click Raise Hand, your digital hand will raise, as mine is here, and I'll call on you in the order of which you raise your hand. Again, reactions, click, box opens, bottom of the box, raise hand, click, digital hand raises. Okay, let's get into Q&A. And first up, Alex, hello, and welcome to our new VIP, Alex.
Hey, Robbie.
Hello, sir.
I'm wondering if you have any helpful suggestions. I've got trigger finger on my left thumb. It might be affected by my handstand practice. Do you have any thoughts about that at all? What I've been doing is like compressing on the full length of the, it happens when I wake up from sleeping mostly. So it doesn't go back easily, the full range of motion of the top part of the joint, like it gets stuck and then it kind of snaps. So I've been like putting pressure on the tendon that goes along the thumb, but do you have any other thoughts?
Yes. First of all, what do you think you might be doing during sleeping? Are you like doing like maybe laying on your hand or doing something that's stressing the thumb? What's your thoughts on that?
No, I mean, I did a little research on trigger finger and they say that's when it happens. Just apparently the body there's probably some inflammation in there and the body's laying down, is trying to heal it, but it's making it stick. The fibrin, I think it's called. So it lays it down during sleep, and that's why it happens then. I don't think I'm doing anything during my sleep. So
it's really common. It's really common. I mean, I know the medical industry comes up with stuff like that, but it's really common. Like, we don't know the positions we're laying in necessarily when we're sleeping, unless you're one of those rare individuals that just lay on their back and just stay there all night, which is really rare. But yeah, so it's possible. But moving forward, the other thing is when you wake up, and depending on the position of which it's restricted, going like away from. So example, if you have trouble straightening, you'd want to work the muscles and the tissues on the side that are towards the contraction. So like if you're having trouble straightening, then you would massage all through here, massage through here, get to the thumb joint, gently pull on the thumb, and that's going to help you significantly. Also, what I would suggest you do is before you go to bed, give a little bit of stimulus so that as your body does repair itself as you sleep, it's repairing itself in more of an aligned way. And you can do that by just simply, using your other thumb, which is your strongest digit, and then just massaging through here, massaging all around your thumb. It's going to feel great anyway. So massage, and then once you get to the thumb, then you can start to straighten and gently stretch, and then another thing that's really good is to do from end range position. And by the way, what I'm going to teach everyone is the same for all stretches. This is an advanced stretching method. So you could do this for your hamstrings, your hip flexor, your neck. You can do this for everything. Here's what it is. So we're stretching. And when we get to your personal comfortable end range, I want you to do contractions. So you can do like 3 contractions and then come all the way in and back. So this is what I call functional range of motion. I'm going to give you 2 different strategies. That's called functional range of motion mobility training. And so I actually developed this method. So when you're at the end range, you do 3, and here's the reason why. Because your tissues work in cross bridging. So the tissues are like, they have what's called sarcomeres, and these are all these different protein connections, and the muscles actually crawl across each other. So like when the tissue, any tissue, your bicep, your shoulder, thumb, every tissue muscle works the same way. When the tissue is shortened, it's like at the end of its bridging. And then as you go to the long position, it starts to get like this. All the sarcomeres are starting to lengthen. And there's a lot of tissue space we don't have a lot of sarcomeres in, and depending, so we don't have these cross-bridging structures. So depending on the length of which you train a tissue in, your body will respond by laying down new and developing new sarcomeres. So if you train the body tissue for gentle strength, okay, that's the safe way, then you're going to develop new sarcomeres in that area, and then you're going to change your functional range of motion. So that's one really helpful. And you can do this end range, light load. Please make sure everyone understood, very light load, okay? When you're at the end range of any stretch, you can like 1, 2, 3, gentle, slow, and then do a full range, and then go back. And again, you're focusing on the end range, and the tissue mechanics will change for that.
And then back to what you started with, is there a position to be aware of during the night, if possible, that I should avoid, or that I should?
Yeah, I mean, just, like if you're like, today we're talking about shoulders and neck. So a big one is people will lay on their shoulder like this. And yeah, most people's shoulder don't actually agree with this very much. And yes, you can injure yourself while sleeping. It's totally possible. And I'd actually say it's actually common. Like laying on the shoulder, you're staying in like gentle impingement. So the force is fairly gentle and supported. But when you take intensity times a huge volume, that's a big stimulus factor, right? So you don't want to lay like this. You don't want to, obviously you get your hand all tucked up and your hands like this. I'm sure everyone's had the experience where you wake up and you look at your hand and you have to like fold back your fingers from laying on your hand. I know I have done that before. I don't think I'm the only one. So you just want to stay out of all those things. Laying on your back is best. Having your arms out is best. Because of all the things I taught from today, you have your chest open, you're mobilizing your tissues. You don't have to necessarily feel a stretch to be stretching. Just laying your arms on your bed, laying on your back, this is an amazing stretch. And if you can stay there for 20, 30 minutes, that's literally 20, 30 minutes of stretching and opening up the front side upper body with no work, just relaxing there like that. And that will really open up and align the whole shoulders, and ends up aligning the neck and everything else. So, any sleeping position from the back, arms open, is fantastic. And that second strategy for stretching that I want to give everybody, this is an amazing thing to increase if you really have a tight area. So again, regardless of the tissue that it is, but I'll use the thumb since we're talking about that, but it could be a hamstring stretch, a hip flexor stretch. When you get to the end of your stretching position, what you do is you gently contract, and gentle will be 10% of your effort. So it feels about like 10% of your effort, and you stay contracting for 10 seconds with 10% effort. And then you release the tension, and then you can go forward a little bit, but then you're going to be able to go deeper into the stretch. Here's why. What happens is when you're stretching, your nervous system's going to go, oh, we're at our end. We don't usually go further than that. Your range of motion is only this. So we're going to contract. So your nervous system is actually involuntarily contracting to not let you go past what it's used to or it's been calibrated in the past for. So it'll send a contraction to your muscle. Okay. So it sends a contraction to your muscle to keep you from going further. Well, when you contract, that message gets tricked that it doesn't need to do it involuntarily because you did it voluntarily. So then it lets the tissue release, and then you're able to get more stretch, and then you're able to get those fibers longer. So if you combine those two on any stretch, you'll get even better mobility results in all mobility exercise.
Thanks so much, Robbie.
You're so welcome, my friend. Yeah. And so, and that you know Udo Erasmus. So like my suggestion, like Udo's oils are really good. And they can be very beneficial in helping joints and arthritis and that type of thing is highly effective. So if you, I'm sure you'll have, being that you know Udo, but if you haven't, I would highly suggest you try that for a sustained period of time, like using his oils. Because I do know a lot of people that their arthritis has decreased, especially like in the fingers and stuff, from using healthy oils.
That's what I use on my bread.
Yeah, awesome. Nice. Good. Awesome.
Thanks, Reverend.
You're welcome, my friend. Lots of love to you. And next up, Carolyn. Hello, Carolyn. Welcome. And you're not unmuted yet, but we sent you a link, so that should be on your screen. And it should say the host has asked you to unmute. You'll simply click the blue button.
Okay.
There we go.
I'm
can
up
hear you.
here.
Yes, I
Well,
can.
okay. I was at the doctor one time and she was checking my back and she said, Carolyn, has any doctor ever told you that you had scoliosis? Because I have a curve in my back. Now, the reason I tell you that is because I'm having trouble keeping my pelvis straight. My back always wants to go into a curve. If I did have scoliosis, is this going to make it more difficult? Can I let my body learn to keep my pelvis straight? Because I notice that every time I sit down, my curve wants to be there when I walk. And so when I'm trying, since I've been listening to you, and by the way, I want to tell you, you are wonderful. I can tell that you love people and you want to help them. And I thank you for that. And but anyway, I want to know by continue the exercises, will this help my back? If I had scoliosis, I know I told you before I was 80, and back when I was young, if it would have been young, I don't know that they would have known anything like that about then. But just continuing my exercise, to be checking my pelvis, would take care of that eventually?
Yes, your pelvis, you have the right thought. Like your pelvis is the thing that is going to
Yes.
adjust. Yes, you're totally. Could you hear me, Carolyn?
Yes, sir, I can.
Okay,
Yes.
great. So yes, you have the right thought. Your pelvis is really the thing that's going to adjust your lower back. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
even though your camera is on, so it's not off like this, your camera is actually on. Your camera's not showing. I don't know if you realize that or not. But I would love to be able to see your pelvis, and kind of I'd be able to analyze and give you some further feedback. But so just so you're aware, it's not on. I can't see you.
I don't know how to turn it on. I don't really understand why there's not a picture there.
If you go to the bottom of your Zoom, well, your camera is on, first of all. It's not that it's not on. Your camera is on. It's that your camera selection is not, either your camera's covered or your camera selection is not selected appropriately. That's actually what's happening.
I don't even know where the camera is on my computer. So,
all right, I won't get into too much details about camera and Zoom here.
I don't want to take time.
But yeah, so here's what what I would look at. Like if your pelvis is, if your pelvis is centered, but like one side's higher and you got a little scoliosis, it's like, all right, yeah, you might actually have some real lumbar curvature. That does happen, yes. But more often, it's actually the pelvis that shifted. And because the pelvis is shifted, that's what's creating the lateral S curve.
Right.
So the way you'd see that is simply look at yourself in the mirror and see, is your pelvis shifting? Like, are you here and then here? Or is your pelvis pretty centered from a lateral perspective? And you have the S curve here, or are you more shifted out to if you're more shifted out to the side, then that's showing a weakness. And especially if that same shift, when you walk, you have a tendency to kind of like runway model, shift to that side. what that's showing is a weakness in your glute medius, which is a tissue here that's help this side holds up this side. So this muscle here, when contracted or supportive, holds up this side. And when it's weak, it lets that side go out. So if it lets that side pelvis go out, that's part of what can create a scoliotic curve. So that's basically what I would look at for with you. So I'd look at yourself like in the mirror and see, and if that's the case, tying back to session 2 of the full body fix,
Yeah.
your hip exercises, hip mobility is going to be important too if that's misaligned, but the strengthening of the glute medius muscle especially. And there's many different ways that you should build up for that, and the full body fix teaches you the foundation, some of the foundation of doing that.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
You're so welcome. Lots of love to you, Caroline. And hello, I'm gonna do my best, and you're gonna correct me as needed. Fayez?
Yeah, Fayez is good.
Fayez, awesome. Hello, how are you?
Awesome. Thank you so much. Doing good. Awesome session, by the way. I really felt that you had a heavy voice while you're telling. I know this is so much emotional for you as it is for us as audience. So I actually have a couple of questions. One is the similar as Alex had, but instead of the thumb, I had issue with the finger. 2 of these, I think it happened after a long stretch of lawn mowing or snow blowing. And so what happens every morning when I get up, I feel these are stuck in a certain position. And I can't get them to move unless I use the other hand to actually get them unstuck. So besides the rotational movement that you mentioned, is there any nutritional problem that I could be having that makes it happen? And second question is about the shoulder and the neck. So today's session was very important for me because being a person at the desk at most time, I had always had.
Sorry, Fayez, just 1 second. I'm gonna have you unmute again, but I want to answer your one question at a time. So I'm happy to answer both questions, but if I can just answer one question at a time. So, so first your finger question. Here's what happened. This is going to help you even more also, Alex, is so if you're doing, we do this a lot more, like when you exercise, even when you work out or you do yard work, we're doing gripping. We're doing what's called flexion with our fingers and not so much extension. Like it's not so often we're doing this with resistance, but we do a lot of this. And this happens throughout the body when you strength train, which you are even doing yard work. When you strength train in one direction and not enough in the other, it creates imbalances that can cause joint misalignment, and it can cause those issues as well. So one of the things I would add to what I shared with Alex and the whole stretching, we can take that even another step further, is there's resistance bands for your fingers. And so you have all these little loops and you attach them on your finger, and you do hand extension, finger and thumb extension exercise, and that'll start to create a balance in your mechanics and the stability and alignment of the joint. Just know that I'm not sure if Patricia has a link for that or not. Patricia, can you please answer that question? Do we have a link for that?
A link for what, Rob?
The band, the finger bands. If we don't, it's okay. I can give direction.
No.
Okay, so go wherever you like to buy stuff online. Amazon does have them, but when you go to Amazon to order, I want everybody to know that I don't know if they think like King Kong is buying these bands or what, but they're like, they'll send you like 5 bands, and 4 of the bands are like too strong for probably 90% of people. So you want to try to find the bands, if you're going to buy them, that have the lowest resistance. Like when they give you the detail of the product description, try to find the lowest resistance, because they make these bands like for like a gorilla or King Kong or something. So find the lightest ones and they will work for you. But you simply just attach them on your digits and you just open your hand fully and close back down. It's a really good idea for anyone who has hand issues. So if you're trying to improve grip strength, don't just do this. You need to do this also. And then let's get you unmuted, Fayez, and nutrition on that. So I mentioned, and we did a show on this with Udo Erasmus. He's a guy who's been in oils for forever and other nutritionals, but oils is one thing he's been for like 40 years. And he's a very smart guy, and he did an incredible amount of research on oils and how much problem and health detriment that actually oils and cooking oils and all this stuff causes in our life, in our body. And he developed a really high quality oil that's amazing. And so if you use those oils, it will usually help tremendously with like arthritic finger, arthritic joints. But part of the benefit is also not bringing in the bad fats. And the reason why, well, it's two things really. Like things like sugar will cause our body to be more inflammatory, so we want to try to cut out sugar to the best of our ability. And when everyone thinks about sugar, fruit is a sugar, but it's not. It's the healthiest sugar in the world. And here's the way to look at fruit, because usually fruit gets a bad rap unfairly. Fruit gets a bad rap. Like most people think, if they follow nutrition stuff, that, oh, fruit is sugar, I shouldn't have too much fruit. And it's kind of true, but it's really depending upon how much physical activity you do. If you eat too much fruit, it's like too much carbohydrate, and yeah, some of it is sugar, but it's very healthy and it comes with a ton of nutrients. So when I say sugar, you should stay eating fruit, ideally organic. Doesn't have to be, but ideally organic, and especially like berries, because they break down and digest slower. But other than that, we should remove sugar the best we can from our body and from our diet. And we should also try to decrease fats that cause inflammation. So that's processed fats, it's processed animal fats, animals that have high fat, that have been raised in unnatural settings. Those type of fats are not good. Animal meat in natural setting is actually very good for us. I understand the whole vegetarian thing. One of my best friends that I grew up with is vegetarian. And so I totally understand the movement for that from a personal, spiritual, caring standpoint. And I'm on board with that. From a nutritional perspective, we do need high protein. It does optimize our health. It does restore our tissues. It does make us stronger. It literally makes us younger, and many body systems run from protein. With that all said, processed animal fats, low. Processed like partially hydrogenated fats, right? And those fats and other processed fat, we want to bring those low. The ideal types of fat are like fat from fish, fats from things like walnuts, avocados, and then these Udo's oils. So if you start adjusting those things in your diet, your body's going to immediately start becoming less inflammatory. And things like you're mentioning about the fingers are going to immediately improve. So
Awesome. Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Robbie. Yeah. So, and I connect with the finger. I saw it in the Doctor Strange movie, the first Doctor Strange movie. He does the same thing when he had that accident and his hands were not functioning. The second question should be shorter. It's like when you mention the balance between the right and left sides. So naturally, I'm a right-handed person. And so when I was doing those exercises with you, I noticed that, for example, simple head tilt, I felt a lot of pressure here. When I was doing the shoulder tilt, I felt a lot of pain here. And I didn't feel that much on the left side, maybe the left elbow, but not exactly on the left tendons. And I could really tell that at least 1 to 2 degrees, my left side was more flexible or numb. And this one right side was a lot tough or tense. So what exactly would you suggest, like how exactly we can bring that balance between the two?
You're muted, Rob.
I would suggest stretching more the restricted side. And then I would also suggest doing like manual therapy. You can do this on yourself. You can kind of squeeze your trap. You can dig in with the thumb, the side of the neck, and massage. So instead of trying to make the whole stretch just this, like just the lever, right? Just the lever-based stretch. You can make it local pressure-based stretch. And the way that that works is this: you have the tissue, and one thing is like pulling from its attachment points, which is this, and you're elongating. But another, if you come in and push with your finger or thumb, most is best, you're going to elongate the fiber from the pressure. Like you're pushing it like a rubber band. You push into it, it's actually creating the rubber band longer. So pushing in with the thumb and not relying on only the stretch, that'll help you a lot. And then combining sets of like with the thumb, with a gentle stretch, and then without the thumb with a deeper stretch. And then you take the hand behind the back and grab like this and pull across, and then do, so you have a more thorough stretch. And you can do that with your thumb, your palm facing out, and also with your palm facing in like this here. So doing all of those things are going to be much more beneficial, and be extremely consistent. So do it almost every day, and be gentle with yourself. Like you don't need to do it aggressively. Maybe like once a week you do it aggressively, and all the other times it's very just comfortable, feels really good. And very important, we all need to breathe through our stretches. So if you're just like stretching mindlessly, it's not nearly as effective as if we tap into our body. We breathe in and we exhale while we're stretching, and you can go out through the mouth or out through the nose, but you should always breathe in through the nose. And another thing that really helps with stretching is humming. So humming, and you can hum your favorite tune, your melody, whatever the tune is that you want to do. And what happens is this vibrates your vagal nerve, and your vagal nerve has direct connection to your heart and what's called your parasympathetic nervous system, which is your rest and digest nervous system. And what it does is it calms your nervous system. It activates the calming dial of your nervous system. Your tissues relax better. You get better results from mobility exercise by applying these things. Yeah.
Wow, that's amazing. Okay, gotcha. Thank you so much.
You're welcome, my friend. Thank you for your questions. And hello, Kate. Welcome.
So, hi. I'm back for the 4th.
Good to have you back.
Yes, thank you. Thank you. I have a few things. One is I was listening to the people with their stuck thumbs, and this is just an aside. I had a finger that would do that, and I would have to unclick it, but then I broke my wrist and it never got stuck again.
So the advice is break your wrist, fix your finger. I'm not sure I want to give that advice.
Yeah, that was not advice. It was just after I had the contraption taken off and I had to go to physical therapy. I one day noticed that my finger didn't get stuck. No, that's a little extreme. It was very painful. I have a question. The VIP thing, and this is not a criticism, it's just, money. It's a lot of money. And I'm wondering do you do this every time you have this? Do you do this presentation?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yes.
Because part of it is money, but part of it is, I've told you I have this very old dog who needs help, and I don't want him needing help while I'm doing stuff. Plus I might get this annoying hernia taken care of. I don't know. So I just want to know if I would have another chance. I mean,
yeah, those in attendance are going to get very unique special access to something that they can't get anywhere else for our VIP training system. But yeah, our whole system runs in 3-month cycles, and like our next cycle, the very special offer that individuals can get tomorrow won't necessarily be next time. But yeah, we'll be here. We're highly functioning, so yeah, we'll be here another 3 months. But this the very special offer that individuals have access to tomorrow won't be found anywhere else. So yeah.
No, I know, but when you do these 5 sessions, I was wondering if in the next 5 sessions, you do it in a few, at another time.
Yeah.
If I will have another chance to
Yeah.
do it.
Yeah,
Okay.
to become a VIP, yes, but for what I
Okay.
shared, no, yeah.
Okay, that's all okay, I was curious because I'm, been a little sugar this year, so. And I wanted to actually, was not my original intent, but respond to your need for animal protein because maybe you have not seen, there are a lot of athletes and bodybuilders who are vegan.
Yeah. So
which is
Kate,
fine.
so before we have this discussion, go to fbftalkshow.com and watch my episode with the #1 protein researcher in the world, Jose Antonio, which is a clinical university professor. And yes, I agree. You can maintain your health with exactly what you're talking about. And it's very difficult to do. It's very difficult. Of all the vegans I know, about 80 to 90% of them have an inflammatory diet because of all the processed foods they eat. And when you have a vegan or vegetarian diet, the difficulty, and I'm just speaking facts, like I'm like, it's not like if as a human and as a connection, I actually 100% am on board with the vegan vegetarian movement as a human and those things. I'm an animal lover. So like, yeah. So there's nutrition and science, and then there's from the animal lover side. Yes, I'm all in. But then from the nutrition side, most of the stuff, like, yeah, it's like, it's kind of like, it's convoluted. The information gets convoluted because they want the information to come out a certain way. But the fact is, when you eat animal proteins, you're able to get a high percentage of protein with little to no carbohydrate or no carbohydrate and little to no fat. It's possible. That's very difficult to do on a vegetarian diet. Just by fact, is not my opinion or anything like that. It's just it's numbers. And so what happens is as we're on a vegetarian diet, it's harder to get protein and it's easier to get carbs and fats. And you only have 3 macronutrients, technically 4, which they call alcohol one of the macronutrients because it has calories. But we won't talk about that one because it's a toxin. So you got carbs, you got fats, and you got protein. So how are you going to balance those? And it just gets a little harder to balance them. That's all. And it's easier to get a high protein. And if you're on a high protein diet, you are what you eat. So if you're eating high protein, it's going to break down into amino acids and then reassimilate into amino acid structures primarily on your body, which creates a leaner body. So I'm with you on terms of like the love, care, connection aspect. I'm 100% in. But there's, yeah.
I have just read of many high level bodybuilders and professional athletes who are now vegan and I haven't eaten meat in 47 years, been vegan for 25, 26. So
I honor you. I want you to know that I honor you and all vegans and vegetarians. I think it's amazing. I think I think you're very heart-centered. I think it's wonderful. That's my personal opinion. My non-scientific opinion is it's absolutely wonderful. And like I love vegans and vegetarians for that reason. The science lacks, and there are bodybuilders who have switched to vegan and they have less muscle. I know them. And then there's athletes and they end up with less muscle. And as we age, one of the biggest threats we have is sarcopenia, which is the age-related loss of muscle and function. And when you have low protein, you have low signaling for developing protein. It can create a muscle wasting situation. So on the nutrition side, but I don't want to get into the debate of that. I think I shared what's most important in
Yeah,
terms
yeah,
of.
I wasn't expecting a long discussion and we may not, we may just have to agree to disagree on, which is fine. So that's, those are
And-
the things. I just couldn't not say something.
Sure. I'm with you, and I totally, I get it. As I said, my best friend I grew up with from middle school he's very strong vegan, and yeah, so we have these discussions. I respect it tremendously. So yeah, and it would be interesting for you to see, like on our FBF talk show, if you scroll down the page, you'll see an episode with Jose Antonio.
I
and
dropped the link in there in the chat.
he's the #1 protein researcher in the world. It'd be interesting for you to see what he says, but yeah.
Okay.
Lots
All
of
right.
love. Lots of love to you, Kate. And Sarah, hello and welcome to you.
Okay, I am a children's book illustrator, and I don't draw big, you know. Therefore, I'm sitting down a lot and have a lower back hurts. What are some good ways for me to sit and compensate?
That's a great question. So you should vary your position ideally. So one thing that I would suggest doing, as you can see me doing here, if I was seated, I wouldn't be able to do this. I'm at my standing desk, and my standing desk adjusts. So if I want to even be in Zoom, I can sit, I can bring my chair, and my desk adjusts. So I would suggest you spend some of the time standing. If you just try to go from seated to all standing, is not going to have the best effects. But if you do some standing and you wean yourself into it, it's going to have a really positive effect. So one position you should try to work on creating in your environment is a standing desk. So an adjustable desk. Stand until it becomes uncomfortable at all. As soon as it starts to become uncomfortable at all, switch your position. So if it starts to get fatiguing or whatever, switch your position, because you'll be coming back to it in a little while, and it will build your fitness. It will build your endurance and your feet and your hips, and it's actually really good. Plus it's better on your spine. Then what I would suggest, as I have in my office, is to have pillows, and you could have pillows, you could have like a stability pad, which is like a 2-inch thick pad. You want to have a lot of cushion because you don't want to beat up your knees with the pressure. So you want to have a really soft, thick surface, and then you kneel. So then you're going to kneel on the pillows, and with an adjustable desk, you can have your desk at the perfect height, and you can kneel 2 knees. When you go into 2 knees kneeling, you're mobilizing your hip flexors because your knee is bent and your pelvis is neutral and your hip flexors extended. So you're actually going to be mobilizing those front side tissues. So for those of you who have mobility restriction on the front side of your pelvis, your hip flexors, is an amazing thing to do, because you can do an easy stretch. You do it for a sustained period of time, get great results. Then go from a double kneeling position to a one knee down position. So it's basically looks like the very bottom of a lunge position, but you're not holding the position. You're just resting on the pillows. That's a position that you would do for a very brief period of time. Like most people, probably like a minute, 2 minutes on each side, and you kind of rotate back and forth. And at first, yeah, you have to think about this stuff a little bit, but then you're going to get used to it, and you're just going to rotate. So you're kind of like training passively, because you're getting spinal stabilizer and alignment standing, and then you're kneeling and you're mobilizing your hip flexors. Then you're doing the lunge position I just explained. So you're rotating during these positions. You're kind of basically training your body, improving mobility, decreasing the excess stress from seated. And then, of course, for brief periods of time, you can also then sit. So that's what I would recommend doing. And then during your day, it's always a good idea to decompress your spine. So if you have something where you can lay down on your back and you need to like review, whether it be a computer or a book, what I do is I'll lay on my back, and then I'll put a pillow here. So for example, lay on my back, I'll put a pillow here. And for example, laptops work like this, and you can see your laptop, and you're laying on your back. So now your back is aligned, you have an elevation so you can see your screen well. So rotating between those positions is going to be amazing for your mechanics. Like it's gigantically better than just seated for hours on end.
Okay.
And then if you're open to it, then I would suggest, you know, taking a break about every hour. It doesn't need to be perfect and every hour, but about every hour, and do a little bit of walking. Could be to get a drink of water, which would be a great idea. It could be to go outside and see the sun. That's a great idea as well. Get a few minutes of sunlight, especially during the day. That's going to help you to sleep better. So if you do all those things, like you're gonna, like, that's a major health upgrade from seated for hours on end.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you. And for you to know, I hate exercise, and you are the first exercise program that has ever made sense to me, because you're tying in the movements of not just building muscle, you're helping me stand up better and I feel better. And I'm picking things up off the floor and my back doesn't hurt. So thank you very much.
You're so very welcome, Sarah. Exactly. That's exactly what it's all about. Lots of love to you. Deborah, hello. Welcome.
Hi,
You're-
can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Okay, awesome.
How are you?
Okay, so my question is, I can't, I have carpal tunnel in both wrists. And so to do push-ups or even like a cat-cow stretch, excuse me, it's really painful in both wrists. And so I can do it with my fists to the floor. And I don't know if if it's better to do it that way, or if I could injure myself worse doing that.
No, it's
Does that
better.
make sense?
Yeah, yes, 100%.
Okay.
So your question was, which actually, Alex, if you're still with us, I thought this and that just reminded me, because you're talking about doing handstands. I would suggest, you know, like for those individuals that this really doesn't agree with you, and we actually do this position in some of our VIP training. It's good to do it for a brief period of time. So if it's really difficult within the first 5 seconds and creates pain or anything like uncomfortable stuff at all, if it's just a stretch and after like a minute, 2 minutes, it gets a little sore, I would suggest doing it for like very short periods of time, first of all. Then I would suggest, yes, exactly what you said, Deborah. You can put your fists into the floor. I would suggest using some kind of padding to put your hand into so it's more comfortable, protect you from any inflammation around the knuckles. But yeah, there's nothing wrong with it. Just, you know, you're going to keep the wrist more straight. So, you know, it doesn't need to be straight like this. It needs to be straight, like just like a slight little angle like this here.
Okay, awesome.
And it's
Great,
good.
thank you.
It's
Thank you
good.
very much. Appreciate
Yep.
it.
Absolutely. Yeah, no issues with that at all. And hello, Jory. Welcome. Another VIP. Great to see you.
Thank you. Okay, so simple question and then a complicated one. Simple is you say sleep on your back. Should we use a pillow or no pillow?
That depends on where you're at now and what's going on with your neck alignment. The best answers really comes from, well, where are you at now? And so let's look at different starting points. So we're going to have some individuals in this session right now who have their head almost like this naturally because of what they've created in their environment and ergonomics, but the head's more forward. So if your head's more forward like that, if you try to go and lay on your back without a pillow, not going to be so comfortable. It's going to be really uncomfortable for those individuals. So you do need to use the most minimal amount of pillow support that's totally comfortable for you so that you're not reinforcing this forward head posture, which causes all kinds of issues. And then for that individual over time, I mean, over like months, little by little, you get a little bit shorter pillow. And then a few months later, a little bit shorter pillow. So you start to adapt to laying with your cervical more aligned. Once we start to get into a reasonable, you know, from actual alignment to only slightly forward, then we want to start looking at, is the neck very straight or do we have a little bit of lordotic curvature. And it can be really minimal. But for those individuals that have a super straight neck, that's not good for the cervical spine either. So we need to encourage some of that cervical arch. The smallest cervical support pillow, or what I call like a chiropractic pillow, because it's very common. Chiropractors used to always have these in their office. You want to find the smallest one you possibly can, which is honestly sometimes a difficult task. They make them too big. So you want to find a very small rise pillow. And so the pillow looks like this. And so it has a little curve to support your lordotic, as we call it, which is this rounding curvature of your cervical spine. If you do too much, it's not going to produce a positive result. So you need a really short one. And eventually, if you feel good sleeping on your back without a pillow, I would suggest that, because most of us have too much of this just because of all the seated posture and our ergonomics. We need some hours of going in this position to undo this other position that we're in during the day. So it really depends on where we're coming from, where we're at, and then there's some stair stepping to be able to get there. It's really per individual to eventually get to minimal lordotic curve with proper cervical alignment.
Cool, that's helpful. Okay, so my second one is, my son is tall and thin and played volleyball. And when he was serving, this was a couple years ago, his sternoclavicular joint popped. And what can be done to help that? Because all the professionals we've gone to don't give any help.
First thing, I'd want to look at his stability of all of his shoulder structure and chest muscles and see what connective tissue might be out of alignment or excessively tight. And, all we have to work with, especially if you went to different professionals that do manipulation for those kind of things, and they're like, we can't take it any further, you're going to really want to address it through the soft tissue connections and support the structure that is there so that he can live a highly functional life without that being an issue. That's the direction I would go in. He may or may not be a candidate for something called a manipulation under anesthesia. So there's manipulation. It's like a chiropractic adjustment, but it's under anesthesia because the manipulation is more severe than a typical chiropractic adjustment. And this can prove to be sometimes effective. And he may or may not be a candidate. Of course, you'd need to see a professional and analyze for what caused the misalignment to see if that would be appropriate. So those are the things that I would recommend.
Okay. All right, thank you.
You're very welcome. Yeah, and then Jory, as a VIP, Patty, can you please bring Jory back up? So as a VIP, when you go through your mobility testing, you're going to have Patricia, can you thank you. Okay, so you're going to go through many different mobility tests for your upper body. And when you do that, have your son do it too. Like the content that you have and the training that you get to go through your mobility test, have your son go through it. And then you could even talk to the team about it, tell them I said you could do this, but you enter the data in the scorecard and in your forms, and you're going to be able to get a mobility prescription for him too, which will be able to align his upper body. So just an added bonus for you. You can have him go through that system also, which that'll enable you to figure out, well, what is, like I just mentioned, like he should analyze these things. Well, how do you do that? Well, as a VIP, you're going to go through that whole process. So we'll extend that to him as well. Sorry, you're muted, Jory.
So it's called the mobility testing.
Yeah. And you'll know, like and your second week and fourth week, well, second week as a VIP, we'll be testing your whole core and lower body. We'll be testing everything to the actual degree or inch and finding exactly where you have tissue deficiencies. And we'll be creating a prescription to specifically align your body. And then the 4th week, we're going to do that for upper body. Along with all of your training, those 2 weeks have special testing sessions. And when we go through that, we can extend it to your son also.
Okay, that was worth joining just right there.
There you go. Yeah. Under promise, over deliver. So that's that. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yes, ma'am. You're welcome. And Helga, hi. How are you?
Yes, can you hear me now?
Yes, ma'am. I can.
Well, I am 80 years old, actually 81, getting what to be 82, but who counts, right? I'm very, very excited. I still remember my mom telling me when I was just a teenager saying, walk straight. And I would go like that. And, I hear walking straight, but I never could do it. So what you're saying is just absolute wonderful. And I have tried it and I'm doing it this week and people can already tell saying, hey, you're straight. I try and then I forget, but thank you so much for this whole series. One particular thing that I have played tennis for 40 years, but in the kitchen, when I try to fix meals and move, sort of lean forward, is there something that I can do? I get extreme upper body pain, chopping onions and doing just preparatory things for a meal.
So I have a wonderful, amazing Brazilian mother-in-law who lives with us, and part of her wonderfulness is she cooks amazing meals, and she has some shoulder and neck issues, and I tell her all the time, like, stop pushing through. It's like training, like stop pushing through preparing it all in once. And like, if it takes 40 minutes, stop just pushing yourself through 40 minutes, because and if you want to keep at it, fine, but take a couple minutes, take a few minutes and care for Helga and go away from the counter. Do, for example, the thoracic alignment breathing. Like, that's a great thing to do. You're going to be using the diaphragm, aligning your upper back. We teach this in the Full Body Fix. So do the thoracic alignment breathing. Do, for example, what we did at the end of today's session, right? Doing the wall walk shoulder stretch. Do it on each side, and then do another thoracic alignment breathing. Maybe do one of the bend over exercises that we did from session 2, and then go back to the counter. Now you're resetting your body. You gave all those tissues, because you're basically you're overtraining those tissues is what you're doing. You're staying in a fixed position, probably not perfect alignment. And then you're just staying, and your body is getting more fatigued, and you're actually training your body to go to that misaligned position also by doing that. So once you go away and realign the tissues with what I just shared, and then you come back, now you're reset, restructured, and now you're probably more cognizant of your alignment. So now you're going to be holding better posture, starting back into your activity. You're going to feel drastically better, and your cooking and the whole experience is going to improve.
Totally makes sense.
Yes.
I still have one more smaller question maybe, but I still don't know for sure how to bend over. I do a lot of yard work as well, and just doing a lot of things on the ground sometimes, because I have done that all my life, but I just don't know what is the proper way to get down and pull weeds. I mean, maybe sitting down, not bending over.
Nothing wrong with bending over. It's all in how you bend over. Our bodies are intended to do.
How do I bend over?
So we did a little bending over today, but we did a lot of that in session 2 and 3 actually too. And so pelvis new. Oh, I'm sorry. What did you say?
I saw just the lunge position.
Yeah. So your pelvis should be neutral. And so pelvis is not just neutral standing up, it's neutral when you bend over, and it's in relationship to the back. That's really what neutral is. So As you bend over, you want to keep your pelvis neutral and make sure you're using your hips to do a lot of mobility, your ankle joints and your hips to mobilize, and your pelvis staying neutral and your back staying aligned. As long as you're doing that, you're going to be way improved over what you're doing now, I'm sure. My best answer for you would be, become a VIP and let me neuromuscularly retrain your body so you'll understand every little position and nook and cranny of your capability, and that'll easily transition to all of your life's activities. So like our training is not, it's not for that hour session. It's like, how much impact can we make to the other 23 hours in the day is what it's really about. And when you start neuromechanically retraining, you're getting fit, you're doing it, but you're really training for your whole life. So then you're able to apply it to everything. So that's what I would share thus far.
Thank you so much.
You're so welcome, Helga. Lots of love to you. And next up, I see iPhone. I'm certain that's not your name, but I'm looking forward to you sharing your name with me. Hello, we sent you a link to unmute.
Hello,
Hello.
I'm unmuted. Does that
Yes.
work?
Yeah,
Can you hear me?
yes, I can. Yes, if you would please share your name with me.
Yes, I'm Betsy.
Hi, Betsy.
I had some questions, some of which have been answered, but one of them that couple of issues, but I'm not going to get too long on it. When I wake up, my shoulders are in pain, and I know I've had I'm trying to get my arms out of the position where they're behind my head like this, and I tend to sleep that way. And so I have impingement, and it's gotten more severe recently. But some of that work on today was really helpful. I was looking forward to that shoulder situation. I additionally have hand issues. I have Dupuytren's, and my hands are quite arthritic now. But you were talking about the oils and the stretching, and I thought both of those things were interesting, but I don't know the name of the oils that you're talking about, and I'd like more information.
Yeah, it's called Udos oils. Udos.
Spell it?
UDOS. Patricia, do you have a link for Udos oils?
That would
Yeah.
be great, but I can find it probably now that I'm spelling it correctly.
So Patricia will drop the link for that in the chat.
Mhm.
Within the next couple minutes, you'll see it show up in the chat.
Okay, but I think regarding the sleeping and the pain in my shoulders, I think that discussion about the pillow was another question that I had. So I think that was very helpful. I'm going to work on trying to, gradually get down so I'm not using the pillow. I think it'd be really better for me.
Yeah, and then listen to your body, right? Because nothing's more important than results, right? So the best way for us the best way for us to measure anything is results. So some individuals will do best with a minimal pillow. They're actually pretty difficult to find. Most pillows are like way too much. It's way too much. And so when you look for a pillow, unless you're the individual that has your posture like this with your head, you want to find a more moderate to minimal pillow. And I mean, it's not very much lift. And then, you're going to smash into it a bit when you go down. So minimal is ideal. And then if you start experimenting with no pillow, just see, do you feel better? You laid on your back, you slept. Did you feel better? Like, oh, that kind of bothered my neck a little bit. I feel better with the light pillow. Okay, then use a light pillow. Our goal is for you to feel great. So most individuals will feel better with no pillow eventually as they arrive there. But minimal to no pillow, go with what feels best for you. Also consider how straight is your neck. And if it's really straight, then using a curved pillow, like the orthopedic pillow, would be a good idea. And again, on that, minimal.
Thank you so much. Yeah, these have been wonderful sessions.
You're very welcome. Absolutely. Happy to be here and to be of service. And Sue, hello.
Hello, and
Hello.
good morning, and thank you for another unbelievable session. So let's see here. Let me get my video. It was on. There we go.
Perfect.
So I just have a quick question. I have a right separated shoulder, which I've had for about 30 years. And from a car accident, and fortunately had a good surgeon who recommended no surgery. Said, we'll attack this from another vent, which I've done okay with. On the exercises that I learned today, the stretching and all that I learned today, I have some clicking going on there that's pretty common. My understanding is that I can ignore that. It won't be harmful. I want to make sure that's correct. So there's a bit of a click in some of the things I'm doing.
Can
And
you
I don't-
show? Yeah, can you show me?
Well, when I'm doing like this one out and I'm
Yes.
pulling the scapula back
Yes,
and just moving my arms back,
yes.
it clicks. It's
Okay.
like a click.
Okay, and you had surgery in your cervical spine?
No, I didn't have surgery, no surgery.
No surgery, okay. So with your, one thing is in this sessions, I show everything without equipment or like just home items.
Right,
Ideally, this exercise where we're doing this, right? And we're doing this, it would be done with band resistance.
okay,
I can show it with band resistance in the session because then everyone's, I don't have a band, right?
right,
So
right.
why are you showing me stuff? I don't have equipment. So my objective is to teach everyone the motion and the position, but what we should quickly do is progress this to resistance for a couple reasons. One is obvious, we're going to strength train the tissue with resistance, not just the air. It is really important though to understand that the first thing we want to have is proprioceptive awareness. In other words, body positioning of alignment and connection with what's happening. But then the band, and I'm going like this because you'll use a band to, and Patricia can drop the link for the bands, right? She'll do it now. And so you're going to attach a door anchor to your door, and then you put your band through that loop, okay? And the bands come with all that. Hold the band, and what you should really do is learn to do this one arm at a time. So that you
Okay,
focus once, because obviously you're able to focus one side and then see what's going on the other and learn the motion better. The band is going to help keep your arms suspended, because when we do it without the band, you're having to contract your pec minor tissues, other shoulder muscles, neck musculature to keep your arm up. Whereas when you use the band, now we're here and then we're truly having to pull. So now we're pulling with those back muscles, and it does change the effect. So I show the perfect mechanics in today's session, but adding the band will make that much more effective. And then let's look at your position. So that's the first thing you should really know. But and that's very likely to change the clicking. And you're actually very likely to be able to change your positioning where it doesn't bother as much. One thing that's important to know is the more your hand is rotated like this, the more likely you're able to do without clicking. Within reason. You start going like backwards, we're going to end up with the opposite.
very
But
good.
so thumb up or palm up is going to be the most important way. So let's do a few reps there. If you back up from the camera a little bit, and let's practice a
I
couple.
can back up.
Yeah. So sit up nice and tall. Yeah, sit up. So the first thing we want to think of is, and which is why I teach the full body fix the way I do, is your pelvis and your alignment there. It's not actually, so you can relax your arms, sorry, for just 1 second. So let's go seated really tall, pelvis neutral, and then align seated tall. So from your tailbone to your head, you should create a really long extended line, and the pelvis is neutral. Do you remember neutral from
Yes,
Wednesday?
yes.
Okay, now lift your arms. And the most important thing is not going to be the upper body. It's going to be all the alignment from the foundation, the core. Okay. Okay. So now reach forward, more. Okay. Make sure you keep your body alignment and just gently come back with your shoulders. Don't try to force the motion, just gentle. Yeah. And then come back forward again. Yeah. And then just gentle, go back. Just gentle. Yeah. Okay. So with those reps, did you have clicking?
No,
Yeah.
I think
So-
turning the hand is huge.
Yeah. Yes.
Like,
And Yes, also, yeah, because it opens the shoulder space. The more we go like this, the more this humeral head starts to rise up to the scapula. And when we rotate the other way, it starts to create space underneath the scapula. Yeah.
Absolutely incredible that so many of the things that you shared out through all of the sessions. I just go, I've had a lot of PT on my shoulders and my ankles and feet. And from injuries from running and lots of exercise for many years. And I just am amazed. And I thank you very, very much. Fantastic.
You're so welcome, Sue.
And
And
lots
yes,
of love back to you
thank you, thank
and
you.
Patricia.
Yeah, so make sure you don't miss tomorrow, the 5th
I
session.
won't. No, I have it down
Yes, yes.
again.
Awesome. Awesome. Lots of love to you. Anna. Is Anna? Anna, hello, welcome.
Thank you. I have really appreciated all the questions throughout these sessions have been really, really helpful. I wanted to ask about neuropathy.
Sure.
I
Yeah.
have neuropathy, and basically from the knees down, I have a lot of trouble feeling, which affects my balance and some other things. Things are getting much better than they used to be. I'm 78, so but I have been doing things like a lot of Kundalini yoga and a lot of other yoga to try and help strengthen and preserve what balance I have. Do you have any suggestions for it? And by the way, I have one other comment if I could. I was a vegetarian for 50 years and recently became a carnivore about a year ago because the vegetarian diet was really because of the high carbs, not realizing it was sending my blood sugars way up. And the carnivore diet brought my blood sugars to the point that I was able to eliminate 95% of my medications.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. Yeah. In terms of the animal love side, like I'm all in. I'm all in. Despite the research literature tells me, in my 30 years of experience tells me nutrition science different, but yeah, but animals I'm all in. So it's interesting what you shared with me. Neuropathy. It sounds like you're doing some exercise, but are you like exercising without your shoes on and trying to feel your feet? And like during the day when you're at a chair, you rubbing the bottom of your feet with a ball? And are you really doing a lot of mechanical optimization exercise and really trying to connect and feel with your body and feel the functionality and do toe exercises and feel the alignment of your foot to your knee? Are you truly doing that? That's my first question for you. Do you feel like maybe you've really truly been doing that? And if not, that's okay. That's why you're.
I actually have, I discovered that I didn't realize it, but I actually could lift the 3 toes on each foot. I didn't know I could do it until I did the exercise with you, and I went, wow, that's impressive. Because I couldn't do it before, but by holding down the big toe and the little toe, I was able to concentrate. One of the things that yoga does that's really good is teaches you to isolate muscles. And I used to be a weightlifter, a heavy weightlifter and a boxer. So I learned how, and I had trainers that really were into form, pulling down on your back and your scapula. Yeah, they were good, very good trainers. So I walk all the time barefoot, and I've been trying more and more to walk in the grass barefoot and on uneven surfaces in order to regain a sense of where my feet are on the ground. But the ball, I haven't thought about. I will do more of that when I'm sitting because I'm always barefoot. I hate wearing shoes. So, but I will do more of that. Thank you.
Yeah. I would just understand that the exercise doesn't have to be intense, but you have to be intensely connecting with your body. But the exercise doesn't need to be intense, but we're intensely connecting with our body and then adding load and stress and additional stimuli. But That's where I would encourage you to go. I would encourage you to do a lot of exercise where you're very much connecting with your body, you're thinking, you're feeling, you're very aware, you're very present. Like this will help redevelop your neural pathways.
Okay.
That's what's going to be most beneficial for you. Yeah.
Yeah, because Western medicine tells me that forget it, you know, and I actually don't believe that. So,
yeah.
Okay. Thank you so much. I appreciate it.
You're very welcome. Lots of love to you. And next up, Penelope. Hello and welcome to you.
Hello,
Another
thank
VIP. Great to see you. How are you?
Thank you. I just wanted to make two comments. I was a side sleeper my whole life and just loved sleeping on my side. But then when I had problems with my shoulders, it hurt sleeping on my side. So I've trained myself to sleep on my back, and it's wonderful. I mean, and I'm almost completely without a pillow. And I just get so, I mean, and I don't move. I just get such a better rest. So I really recommend it. The other thing is, during COVID, because I was at home the whole time on my computer, I got a real desk chair. And during, I think it wasn't the session today, I think it was the previous session, you said something or did something, and I realized that my the armrests of my chair were up high, so that I was like this. So for 2 years, I've been like this because my armrests are high. And I discovered how to put them down, and it like made all the difference in the world. It was just, you know, I couldn't believe that I'd been 2 years training myself this horrible wrong thing. And now it's just so much better. My question is, I have a warm-up routine that I do in the morning that basically moves all my joints. And one of the things is a shoulder roll, rolling forward and rolling backwards. And I'm just wondering, you didn't mention that as an exercise. So is that a good thing or not a good thing? Or is there a way to do it or not do it or something like that?
I think it's good for most individuals. I think that's good for most individuals, unless you have a lot of like crunching and popping, which some individuals will. And especially if you have some negative results afterward. In other words, some pain, some inflammation, some issues afterward. It's not like guaranteed for everyone that they're going to have that, but I think it is a good idea overall. And if you have those issues, then it's kind of do up and down, and then shoulders back, up and down, and like do each position. You know what I mean? So I think for most people, yes, I think it's really good. But I think we need to just be aware of, do you have any type of popping and stuff? And if you do, we start, just like I shared with the previous participant here, pelvis neutral, align, get everything aligned. Because remember, when we're going to work this stuff, our arms and our shoulders, we don't start here. Like if you're starting here, you already missed the boat. We want to start with pelvis aligned. What are the feet doing, depending on how much they're involved, and come up the body and align and have the head aligned. Okay, now I'm ready for shoulders. Now I'm ready, because that's your core, that's your foundation, that's your base. So even with something as simple as that, then roll the shoulders, and very likely you're going to have better feeling and that positioning of doing this exercise. So
Thanks.
You're so welcome, Penelope. Lots of love to you. And Sue, hello, welcome.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you, Robbie. I love all that we're learning, and I really appreciate your generosity and all. I have a question about sleeping. So I have had some degenerative neck stuff going on, and I think maybe a pinched disc at some point, but that was a while ago. And it was from doing too much my levator scapulae. So my question is, I do have a millet pillow, so I can adjust it and mold it how I want it. And when I lay on my back, I almost have to have no pressure on my spine, because if I do, it feels like almost like I can't breathe, like almost like it's choking me, or it's very uncomfortable. So I was wondering, and I can mold it around my neck, so I bring it up and just mold it so it's not too much there. Was wondering your thoughts on that.
And how do you feel from using that?
I think it's better than a regular pillow, because a regular pillow puts too much pressure usually.
Yeah.
And then if I usually flip over on my side and then I mold it so that it can keep my spine aligned and my
Yeah.
shoulder. aligned.
Yeah. I think this is great for you. I think as long as it's not too big, like as long as it's not like if it's putting a huge arch in your neck, then you know that could be actually adding to some degeneration in the area. So as long as it's not too big, I think that it's really good. I think what you're
Okay.
doing is really good, as long as it's not too big. Yeah, and
Okay.
too big is like, you know, more than like a couple inches roughly of support after the device is smashed, you know, roughly a couple inches, 2.5 inches. If it's more than that, that's going to be too much, unless, which you're
No,
not, unless
it's
you're
pretty flat.
neutral with, yeah.
Yeah, no, it's pretty flat. It can be as flat as I want it.
Awesome. Yeah, no, I think it's great. I think this
And
really
then the shoulder, the neck things you were talking about would help. And the alignment and all of that would help the neck. Because I know when I do some rows or some things, my neck will sometimes hurt.
Mm. One thing that really helps with that, it's kind of crazy, but the pelvis, when you do rows and other upper body exercise, you really want to stabilize from here. Like every time you go to do a row, the first thought should actually be like pelvic floor, lower abdominal, and glute contraction, and then you feel the support and come up through the spine. So it's pelvic floor. So
Mhm.
all the pelvic tissues contract, lower
Yeah.
abdominal, glutes, up through the spine, and then follow through with the pull. And just keeping it comfortable. Like don't try to overdo the head position, but a comfortable chin tuck, whatever's comfortable for you. That all those things are going to really help with that position. And then work on strengthening your neck. There's different ways, like in our VIP training system, I have different neck strengthening exercises to strengthen your neck flexors separately from, and actually we went through one today. So
Yeah.
Strengthen it separately from sternocleidomastoid, which is going to be compensatory, strengthening the deep neck flexors, which can be done with like a band. So they sell, they have these, it's called CLX band, and you can actually, you can use this with the bands that we use also. So you take the band and you wrap it around your head like a headband, and then you take the clip that the bands come with and you clip it behind, which helps to keep it fixed. You attach the band to a door anchor, you stand with really good posture, and you go like this. And so you have to do it slow and try to keep really good cervical alignment. And what you're doing is you're strengthening your deep neck flexor. So it's like a regression to the exercise where we're just lying in our back and trying to keep our head aligned and held. It's a regression to that, and it can be done from the standing position. So there's good dynamics from posture and all those things as well. So I would suggest you do that also.
Awesome.
Another thing, you're welcome. And another thing is from the side. So attach the band on the side and you can do back to neutral, just gentle little back to neutral, and then shoulder shrugs with a big stretch on the bottom. Because the more you strengthen your neck, that'll be part of the issue, the less it's going to bother you when you do rows. It just needs a little more stability.
Okay. Awesome. Thank you so much.
You're so welcome. And that looks like it's a wrap. We've gone through all questions in this Q&A. We are super excited to go on to session 5 of the full body fix, which will be tomorrow. And again, whatever you do, make sure you do not miss the 5th session of the full body fix. Patricia, anything you'd like to share?
Yes. So if you missed the start of the session, you can join us today at 2 p.m. Pacific, we're going to replay this wonderful session, and you can participate in the Q&A there as well. And if you don't want to do that, that's okay. We're going to be sending you the replay for this session around 4 p.m. Pacific time. And in the email, you're going to have this session plus the checklist. So just make sure to tune into your email and you will receive this amazing session in your email. And hello. And I will see you tomorrow. Looking forward to meeting all of you wonderful people tomorrow.
See you tomorrow. Lots of love. Make it a wonderful day.